Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded for Sunday, January 21st, 2024. As always, these shows are provided for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly, real time, through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. For those who need to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Very straightforward from there. And if you just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things really help the channel. As always, we're running contests. So every time you cross over to a new level of 1,000 subscribers, I think right now we're headed towards 45,000 subscribers. We give away a free half-hour session with myself. The way you enter the contest is by entering comments in these shows, starting off with the word love. And on this show where we actually cross over to the next 1,000 subscribers, we use a computer app to randomly select the winner. That question comes up all the time. Also, for these shows, we gather questions from our community board. Every Monday, we send out a request. By Thursday evening, Pacific time zone, the requests close down, so we don't take any more questions past Thursday evening. But then my wife then goes through them, 300 to 400 questions, I think, this week, and then selects a group of them. I think we have 61 questions this week, and I go through them with you real time here on the show. So thanks again for joining us. It's always great to get together, and let's get started on today's show. So first off, question 61. Good day, Sterling and team. We have been told that eventually all now and future humanity will live in harmony with each other. What kind of force or reality has to take place to convert radical religions to accept these new norms? Will it take personal extraterrestrial visits or men in black to do that? Well, yeah, we're in a 3-decade reset. If you watch the show all the time, 2020 to 2050, and there's a lot of major events that are going to take place. Not the least of which is, but a couple years here, going to see widespread introduction of extraterrestrials. A lot of history for millions of years is going to come forward. A lot of the world's religions are going to start to reform, reshape around spirituality, and not so much connected just with human beings, let's say, or humanity, but understanding the nature of, say, the one source, the one force. So a lot of things happening over the next 3-decade period. They're going to shift. You know, a lot of the extraterrestrial species get along very, very well. A lot of equality between the sexes of extraterrestrial species, male energy and female energy, and they don't have all the different disparities between the LGBTQ. Everybody's accepted. But it's a higher level of understanding of how the universe is put together. So all these things collectively over about a 3-decade period are really going to start to bring humanity back together. 60. My question is about Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation. Will they ever succeed in the future in giving a conservative president ultimate power? No, I don't see this happening. Actually, I see the whole project, what they call 2025 project, this whole architecture for the government and ruling party, that kind of thing. It's all going to fizzle out within 2025 and into 2026. It's going to fizzle out. So it will not be a successful project. I think we've talked about this a couple of times on the show, believe it or not. Okay, 59, the countdown. Dear Sterling and Linda, will the federal government investigate Texas's private energy grid that can't keep the power on for weather that they know is coming? I see some minor investigations, but no major investigations. You know, it looks like Texas overall is even going to refuse any kind of federal support or federal funding around the private grids. So a lot of pushback for some reason, the politics in Texas. So I see some cursory investigations, nothing major that's going to kind of change the tide of what's going on there, so to speak. See a lot of refusal of federal support, federal funding around private grids. I understand the interconnect there. Yeah, just a lot of pushback in Texas. 58. Greetings. Events throughout the Middle East seem to be ramping up. Not only Israel, Hamas, but Iran and Iraq. What do your guides see happening in the next few months? And what will be the long-term outcome? Well, I actually talked about this on many shows, including our prediction shows in early January. I did on the last show, last week's show, I talked about the rise in really kind of efforts on behalf of Iran, Iraq to escalate the war. I also talked about escalation of US, UK, more strikes. Overall, my team was saying that this is probably going to be a 1 year conflict, the one we're in right now, involving Gaza and Israel, a lot of other entities. And then after the 1 year time period, we're going to see then another 1 year of kind of negotiations, working at a two-state solution. So, in fact, you're seeing in the press now a lot more individuals, even Netanyahu, kind of discussing a two-state solution. He kind of goes back and forth, but it looks like my team's saying that actually we will eventually end up with a two-state solution. 57, Sterling, will Elise Stefanik be voted out of her congressional seat this year? If you're asking about, yeah, the election at the end, whenever the next election is for her, I do see her getting voted out. I also see this has been the news. My team's talking about this right now about her being censured and may even have efforts here to try to remove her in advance of the election. It doesn't look like the efforts to remove her from Congress will be successful, but by the time the election rolls around, it does look like she'll be voted out to me, is what they're telling me. 56, Sterling and team. In the past year, many military whistleblowers have come out and said there is a nefarious things going on at top secret high levels of the military run by an illegal government like drugs and human trafficking. They are told not to speak of it and threatened with their lives and lives of their families. Who's behind all this? This relates to what I call individual corruption. So this is not necessarily well orchestrated, but there's corruption, there's money trading hands, offshore money, drugs. But this is, gets down to certain individuals across the military. And yeah, it does exist. Has existed for a long time. Government's aware of it. Some of this will start to get cracked down as we get into 2025, 2026. But not this a coordinated effort at a top secret level. I think that's what this question was referring to. Not a top secret effort, but the individuals are highly corrupt within the military that are doing it, select individuals. So that's true. Yeah. For entertainment purposes only. 55. Why are children and young people coming down with cancer in larger rates? I get two primary factors. One is our food supply, and the other is kind of an after effect of the COVID pandemic. So after effects, long haul COVID symptoms, but then that combined with, let's say, bad food supply, high sugars, preservatives. So there's a combination of effects here going on. For anybody that's interested in kind of in this topic, again, not a doctor, but do meet with your physician, determine whether you have to kind of reconstruct your diet. But there's things going on here. There's COVID effects and dietary consumption is a big factor here, is what they're telling me. 54, Sterling and team. How can we tell which extraterrestrials are real and which ones are something else? Well, here's the thing. You have to have expertise in this area and already be communicating with extraterrestrials to kind of understand whether they're real or not. I think whoever asked this question might be referring to the Miami Mall incident, which was holographic laser projection. That was all a hoax. But if you're asking how can the individual person tell if something like the Miami Mall is real or not, you really have to consult an expert, a psychic medium that deals with this area, or this will allow the news cycles to play out. If you're meant to see extraterrestrials, you will. And by the way that whole hoax was portrayed at the Miami Mall, extraterrestrials, especially all the ones I deal with, they never come out in that kind of a form that's not benevolent to scare people. So maybe that's at least one litmus test you can use. If it looks scary and doesn't really make sense, pretty good chance not extraterrestrials are highly benevolent. They're here helping with world peace, science, free energy, a lot of areas. They're not really hanging out scaring people at malls. So hopefully that helps. 53, Sterling, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, just had a planned stomach surgery. Will she be okay? Again, not a doctor, but I do pick up this is something to be concerned about. I'm going to tell you, it's something that for me is reflective of like a tumor and even could be cancerous. I think they even said it wasn't cancerous. This is precancerous, something going on here that's going to be a long-term issue she's going to have to address. So, kind of a lot of updates here. This is not it's not a walk in the park, medically speaking. She does have something here that's really going to have to be looked out over. I am concerned about her health. So that's what they're telling me right now to kind of share with everybody. 52, Sterling, how do you not freak out when coming in contact with the paranormal? Are you ever worried about the safety of your life when coming within arm's reach or face to face with the paranormal? Actually, I've never had any fear for the area, even since, a small child, never any fear for it. That speaks to having, thousands of lifetimes, having it be part of your purpose. Anyone that's down here doing this kind of work has familiarity with it, prior lifetimes. So, it's something you're used to. It's like anybody that goes through life with any other kind of a skill, whether they're, an architect or doctor or whatnot, there's certain familiarity. They're comfortable, let's say, with, operations in the operating room. So that's a comfort level. It's all part of a life path. So no, from my standpoint, never any fear whatsoever. No. 51. Are there any pockets, groups of Homo sapiens sapiens that have not been influenced by ETs genetically living today? Well, if you're talking about the fact that everybody started off as a star seed millions of years ago, and certainly had interaction with extraterrestrials, so in that respect, everybody across their lifeline, if you will, has had some interaction with extraterrestrials in terms of them affecting Homo sapiens sapien, what they call the big experiment down here on Earth. So it's a big school, kind of a big experiment. Experiment's going well. But everybody has been somewhat affected by extraterrestrials genetically, if that's what I think this question is alluding to. 50, Mayor Adams from New York City is suing the bus companies for $700 million that transport immigrants while other city states follow. Yes, absolutely. It looks like after a suit is won by Mayor Adams, it looks like other states, other cities will actually follow suit and actually start up these kinds of cases. So, yeah, I do see there being success for Mayor Adams and the suit against the bus companies. And there's something else coming here in federal court. I'm seeing Mayor Adams getting involved in and suing some other individuals for what's going on here. It's interesting. They're talking about kind of a multi-layered case here that Mayor Adams is going to get involved in. So look for that very shortly in the future. Okay, 49, the countdown. Sterling, can you please explain why we would want or need to come to Earth to learn lessons through experiencing pain and suffering? If we come from the other side, where our souls are living in love, light, and harmony, why do our souls need to experience suffering to grow and learn? Wouldn't we grow more spiritually by being in a loving, supportive, and healthy family relationship and environments? How does pain and suffering help us grow? Well, this is a learning process that was set up by the universe, by the one source, one force. Earth is a very unique school where we learn kind of the depth and the breadth of humanity, and this is where the soul grows. Another way I look at it, when there's no adversity, even let's say you're working out, you're an athlete. If you don't have any resistance training or whatnot, you don't build strength. So in that way, spiritual growth in some respects comes about through kind of yin and yang aspects of the universe. So this is something that was set up, by the universe, by the one source, the one force. This is the way we grow. You don't grow without a little bit of, call it adversity, a little bit of friction, and you set up these life lessons as also collective life lessons with people in your unique spiritual families. Those include your family members, maybe bosses you have, girlfriends, boyfriends, spouses, children. But that's the way it's all set up and worked out. You don't. This is how you grow in this kind of unique Earth school. Your soul grows. 48. The Supreme Court has accepted a case that could 45's prosecution. The Supreme Court has accepted a case that could affect 45's prosecution in a case brought by a plaintiff who is one of the January 6 insurrectionists. The justices will consider whether a charge for seeking to obstruct an official proceeding which 45 also faces, can be applied to the January 6th insurrection. If they decide it cannot, half of the 45 charges will go away, and this could serve to delay 45's case till after the 2024 election. Can you tell us whether or not the court will rule in favor of the plaintiff in this case, and it will cause serious delays in Jack Smith's January 6th case against 45? Yeah, this is the obstruction case, obviously. No, I don't see the court ruling that will err on the side of favoring this plaintiff. So they will be held accountable. This is that big obstruction case, right? Yeah, Jack Smith. They're going to rule that they did obstruct an official proceeding. So it's not going to have reverberation effects. It won't propagate through all the January 6th insurrectionists and get them off the hook. They will be held accountable for obstructing kind of an official act. So that it's going to hold up. Okay, 47, the countdown. Does having too much fluoride in your body block certain glands? I've read that it does. If yes, how would one correct this? Well, I'm not a doctor, but high levels of fluoride in the system do affect glands in the body, and you want to work with your doctor to kind of make sure that you're covering that, you're addressing that. I know a lot of people ask this question because some individuals said in the past that high levels of fluoride block certain glands, like in the brain, and in fact then will minimize or limit your psychic or mediumship ability. It's not really true. Actually, there's other types of spiritual exercises. Connecting with your guides and angels are important. But not necessarily having high levels of fluoride, is that going to block your spiritual ability? I think that's why this person's asking the question. If there's a different interpretation here, let me know. I am being told that within about 10 years, about a decade, there will be some CRISPR treatments that will help kind of reduce certain levels of fluoride in the body. But I think I know why the individual is asking this question. Not necessarily going to block your psychic mediumship ability, your ability to connect with everything on the other side. 46. Hello, Sterling and Linda and team. Last week you mentioned that walk-ins don't exist. What do your guides say about imprints? So first off, real clearly, when I talk about walk-ins, there's a school of thought out there that says that your soul, your spirit, will completely separate from your body, and then another soul, disparate soul, will then step in, take over your body. That doesn't happen. Some people cite experiences where their complete personality change. They say that's a walk-in. Some other soul walked in, took them over. Imprints refers to, like, energetically, spirits can come into you, come close, and they can leave what's called imprint on you. They don't evacuate your soul. Your soul still stays where you are. Now, your soul can astral travel. That's a different topic. But walk-ins don't exist necessarily. I know there's other schools of thought out there, but my team always says no other soul is actually going to completely take over your body, exit you out. But imprints of other spiritual energy can certainly lie with you. They don't attack you. But if certain spirits do come in very close and you're working with them, that's fine. They can leave an imprint on you. If you're depressed or have a lot of anxiety, lower level prankster spirits can come in. So that it's subject of imprints. They can certainly leave energetically that feeling with you. But they don't replace your soul. So it's not a walk-in. Hopefully that helps. 45. Hello, Sterling. There's an emergency blood shortage with the lowest number of donations in 20 years. How will this be solved? While synthetic blood will meet some of our requirements, it doesn't begin to cover all the needs that biological blood does. Within about 5 years, it looks like synthetic blood will be developed that will be a big staple in the blood supply worldwide. So there's good synthetic blood development going on right now. It's going to be another 5 years before it's really available. For the ensuing time period, it's going to be a problem. In order for blood supplies worldwide, it will be. I wish I could tell you it's going to get corrected sooner, but it looks like within 5 years, not just synthetic blood, but also human-derived blood will be more accessible. They're telling me. 44. Hi, Sterling and team. I notice so many people are paying more and more for all their insurances, and it's stressing everyone out. Will this practice change? Well, medical insurance costs will start to come down as new medical technology comes on the scene. I talk about CRISPR all the time, but the beauty of gene editing CRISPR technology It's going to reduce the need for long-term health care, long-term cancer treatments, that kind of thing. That will lower a lot of the medical costs insurance companies are paying, and some of that will get passed on, those cost savings. If this person's asking about like property insurance, those kinds of things, it's going to take a few years for, let's say, places around the world, even like Florida, for property insurance to start to come down. We still have a lot of climate change effects that are going to happen, a lot of damage, and insurance companies are reluctant right now. They have to recoup the costs somehow, either move out of the region, raise the prices of insurance. So couple of, there's two different answers here. One's around kind of health insurance costs. The other one's what I call property insurance. Both of them are going to get better within a few years here, but nothing dramatically very soon. So it's going to take a little bit of time. 43, hi, Sterling, Lynn, and team. I'm curious if spiritual practices that claim to be able to negatively affect other people, such as curses or spells, can actually cause harm to people. No, I talk to my team about this all the time. Curses and spells are not real. I know a lot of cultures do kind of hone in on this. Remember, we create our own reality. If you believe it, you will create that reality. I always like to use the kind of the metaphor. If I tell you you're a snowman and you're going to melt in a year, if you believe me, you're going to have a really awful year. I have to tell you completely, curses and spells are not real. We actually control our destiny, working with our guides and angels, the people around us. This also speaks to how well people manifest. If you're constantly focused on the negative and these are all the bad things that are going to happen, you do bring that to you, but that's not a spell. That's not a curse. I'll tell you as a quick footnote, if anybody tells you you have a curse or a spell on you, and then maybe the next thing they tell you is that for, some amount of money, they'll remove that curse or spell, please run the other way. Don't go there. 42, hi, Sterling and Lyndon team. On a very calm, sunny day with the big fluffy clouds in the sky, I was driving down a country road and looked up and saw an object in the sky floating. It looked almost like the ship from Star Trek, only more levels. When the clouds parted, it would try to go behind them, try to hide. I slowed down to watch it. Was this a mothership? And what was it doing there? Yes, this is one of the many types of extraterrestrial motherships that are on the planet. Some of them are man-made. The majority of them are all extraterrestrial base. They didn't describe the shape of this one, but if they're a very large triangular mothership, those are identified with Pleiadians. So there are a lot of them around there here right now. There'll be a lot more sightings actually in 2024 and 2025. 41, hi, Sterling and team. I saw an article the other day about the African plant. Is it ibogaine? Ibogaine. Okay. Treating PTSD in veterans with TBI. Will this treatment also help others with PTSD, and will it be available soon in the United States? I don't get this specific treatment for, this is a hallucinogenic, my team's saying. This one looks a little more dangerous to me. And so a lot of caution here. It looks like there'll be other types of hallucinogenic treatments for PTSD coming. This one looks like it's going to be many years before like the FDA approves it. So something very strong, dangerous about this particular treatment. Again, not a doctor. My team is saying, proceed with caution, that there are other types of treatment for PTSD. There's experiments going on right now with certain types of mushrooms, for example. So, okay. 40, thank you, Sterling. I heard a psychic say that we will all experience every possible life path, including being murdered and committing murder. I found that very disturbing. Is this true? No, it's not a true statement at all. You actually select the life path lessons you want to learn every time before you come down here. You lay out in a blueprint, a lot of free will on the other side. And so, no, it's not true that you experience every different type of life experience. It's all up to you. It's all based on free will. 39, Sterling, I have a question about the sewage problems at the border of Mexico and California. I live in Imperial Beach, which is a border town, and the sewage flowing into the ocean from Tijuana River has been a problem for decades. It has gotten so bad that the beach in Imperial Beach, has been closed for nearly a year and a half. The IBWC claims they can't get enough money to cover the repairs. Can you read on this problem and tell us whether the solution will happen in our lifetime? Yeah, I'm picking up something about a sewage treatment plant, federally funded, that would be coming up here within about 4 years. So some federal funding coming in for a sewage treatment plant in that area. I'm not exactly sure the geography in that area, how that's going to work out. But I'm hearing sewage treatment plant coming in and some federal funding helping with that. I guess some cooperation with other governments or something here. So it's coming up. It's not going to happen right away, but I keep hearing 4 years. 38. On the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch TV series, almost every experiment has electronic equipment or other devices that malfunction for no apparent reason. What is causing these malfunctions? Is it extraterrestrials, the military, prankster spirits? Are extraterrestrials closely monitoring the experiments, stepping in whenever necessary to keep secrets hidden? Well, I've talked about this before. This Skinwalker Ranch in northern Utah is actually home to one of the largest portals on Earth. It's hundreds and hundreds of feet high in height. So a lot of electromagnetic energy is coming through there. That's what's affecting all the experiments. Remember, electromagnetic radiation has everything to do with things you can't see, but that transmits energy like radar, like microwave. Light is a form of electromagnetic radiation. But a lot of that's coming through the portal along with extraterrestrials and other entities. So there's a lot of footage of it. But that's what's creating all the malfunctioning. It's not prankster spirits or something of that nature. Although it's interesting, there are some very unique entities coming through that portal. Some of them, coordinate with ancestral tribes in that area. So, in fact, that's where I think the term skinwalker comes from. A lot of activity, but that's what's causing the malfunction of a lot of electrical equipment. 37, hi Sterling and team. Can you please offer some insight on where Alberta, Canada is headed politically for the next decade? I feel that we are well into the same painful separations as the US has been experiencing. I would like to know if Albertans will be forced to have our federal Canada or Canadian pension plan pulled from the federal hands to become an Alberta pension plan and controlled by and made accessible to whoever is in power at the time in the province. I don't see that Alberta, I don't see they're going to leave the federal pension plan. I'm getting that there's a lot of push, or a lot of people are trying to create this separate pension plan that Alberta controls, but I'm getting it's not going to happen. A lot of pushback. In fact, it looks like the majority of people don't want that. Have no real direct experience with what's going on there, but I'm hearing it's not going to get isolated to Alberta. That the pension plan will still stay with overall Canadian government. So that's what they're telling me. So I guess I wouldn't worry too much about it. Looks like there'll be a lot of hearings on it, a lot of discussion, but it doesn't look like ever come to pass. Okay, 36 in the countdown. Sterling and your generous team. I'm beyond curious about Pine Gap here in Australia. So little to say about such a mysterious, slightly unnerving facility. Are you and your team able to see if energy weapons are being developed and used and/or other extraterrestrial inspired technologies, good, bad, or different? Well, I've read on this before. Pine Gap is kind of the equivalent to Area 51 in the US. So there is reverse engineering going on there. I wouldn't tell you it's direct energy weapons, but I will tell you that there's a lot of reverse engineering of propulsion technology, shielding technology, defense technology, and a lot of interaction with extraterrestrial groups. So Pine Gap, it really is the Area 51 for Australia. Absolutely. 35. Hi, Sterling and team. I'm an educator who is deeply concerned about my students and the younger generations. Every year, I see increased levels of apathy. Many students don't seem to care about their social or schoolwork and grow increasingly annoyed when asked to think critically and will oftentimes evade assignments, not caring that they will receive a failing grade. Do your guides have any idea why this, or know if this issue will eventually turn around? Is there anything I or educators, parents in general can do to help instill love for learning in more of these kids? This is a problem for society overall, and I get it. But what my team is saying, believe it or not, there's new artificial intelligence technology that's going to help customize learning plans much faster individual students. So creating lesson plans that will really inspire them. It's almost like understanding what makes a person tick. And you can do that very fast with supercomputers and artificial intelligence, and then creating kind of very unique, inspiring lesson plans. So there's new technology coming in the schools, new funding. I would tell you that it's going to take a little while here. I do see big progress right after the election as we get into 2025, new funding in these programs. Um, you can think about it's really the integration, what we call large language models, LLMs. That's kind of a subsidiary as part of artificial intelligence. I would tell whoever asked this question, take a look at a lot of new AI technology that has to do around what they call a generative AI, how you generate content, and look at large language models, LLMs, and let's, not just extensions from Chat GPT, but others. So all this is going to start to get integrated into the school system. I'm being told the customized lesson plans. 34. Many years ago, I had 3 dreams that my best friend's husband would be killed in a plane crash. Unfortunately, this turned out to be true. He was killed in a crash. My question is, why did I get such a strong premonition about this event? If there's nothing I could do to stop it, why do we get these messages that we can't change the outcome? Well, this is an example of being tuned in to kind of the universal telephone company. It's like being tuned in, it is being tuned into your angels and guides. It's meant to be demonstrative. It's meant to show you that you have an ability to connect in with universal information. Precognition is one example of that. And so it's not there for you to help. You can't change the event. You can't change anybody's life path, but it's there to demonstrate that you actually can connect with the other side. So it's not just about stopping at precognition of events that you can't change. It's now I'm opening up to a much larger range of communication. Now, what can I do with that? How can I help people? So don't focus so much on the precognition of the event. It's more now connecting with a larger band of guides and angels and moving on from there to help other people. 33. Thank you, Sterling and Linda and team, for the answer to this question. Will the Secret Service have to leave the country with 45 if and when he flees? Yes, absolutely. 32. Before going to Sedona a few years ago, a friend who has been there recently told me about an experience she had at Bell Rock, one of the vortexes. She had seen a bluish aura around other people who were visiting. Surprising to me, I had the same experience when I was there. Sure enough, as I was leaving the vortex, anyone who walked by me had this bluish color surrounding them close to their bodies. As someone who doesn't normally see auras, I was amazed. Can you tell me what this is all about? And this is an expansion of a person's soul energy. So you actually, when someone's soul energy starts to vibrate very, very high, in fact, in aura photography, if you see blue or violet colors, that's showing kind of very high energy resonance around that individual. If you're coming from a vortex area, which is a high magnetic field, the vortex is really in the center of kind of a swirling magnetic field. It will heighten the body's energetic soul energy, and it's much easier to see. So it's a very common, actually. Yeah, not really unusual experience, although it might be the first time you experienced it. 31. Hello, Sterling Linden team. Do you see any major technological breakthroughs in dentistry coming next few years? Will there be in time we'll be able to gently heal cavities and gum issues or regrow teeth? Well, yeah, by about the year 2034, so it's, roughly 10 years out, you're actually gonna be able to have a CRISPR technology, a gene editing technology that will help the body regrow teeth. That's coming. In the meantime, there will actually be artificial intelligence integrated into remanufacturing. So, integration with 3D scanning of someone's mouth and teeth and creating really improved sets of 3D printed appliances. But if the person's asking, what's going to happen then in terms of the body recreating, we're still about a decade out from gene editing technology for that area, where then the body will then regrow teeth. And I think were they asking about cavities too? Able to heal cavities, gum issues. Yeah, all that's coming roughly by the year 2034. 30. Hi, Sterling and team. After the continuous frivolous lawsuits, disrespectful behavior, misinformation, and lack of professionalism by the host of 45 attorneys, will the American Bar Association revisit their criteria and ethical standards, make improvements, and add stiffer penalties? Yes, absolutely. Look for these changes to start in 2025 and then be fully implemented by 2026. Okay, 29 the countdown. Hi, Sterling. The Findhorn Gardens in Scotland and is a Paralandra Center for Nature Research in Virginia both use Genisa crystal in their gardens, which helps with plant growth. I've heard that if you place a Genisa crystal in your home, it helps with meditation and manifestations. What does your team have to say about Genisa crystals? Do they really help manifesting and meditation? Well, this is just one form of sacred geometry. Sacred geometry and crystals in general can help amplify energy. So, in that sense, they can help. Really, if you're talking about manifesting things in your home, a lot of that comes from your coordination with your angels and guides, and you find what I call the 3C principle. You're clear, concise, consistent about what you're manifesting. That's how your guides physically put the right people in your path. But in terms of this question regarding Janisa crystal, my team's saying it's more about another form of sacred geometry and crystals that help amplify the energy that you put out. So it's not just that they don't do it solely by themselves. So they can help. 28. Hello, Sterling Linden and team. Do our pets feel lost like humans do? Recently, we lost our dog within past 3 years. The two dogs we have left do not seem as motivated to play as they did before, and they're still pretty young. Does this affect our animals? Yes, all animals feel the loss of humans and other animals. So they're highly sensitive, highly evolved from the angelic realm. They, in fact, do feel the loss, absolutely, but they get over it. Even animals, dogs, they go through a grieving process just like humans do. 27. What is the difference between guides, angels, ascended masters, our galactic cousins, and our super consciousness? Didn't we all come from the divine love? Aren't we all sparks of the one source? Why and how are we different one another? Well, everything did originate from the one source, the one force. That's true. Extraterrestrials have been around for millions of years, a very specific types of species. Homo sapiens sapiens are what we are here on Earth. Souls incarnate. Ascended masters have been on Earth thousands of times. They've risen through many lifetimes to take on that role. So everybody has a different function. I know the person asking this question is trying to ask the difference between all of them. Guides, I will tell you, are many times individuals that walk the planet maybe hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, but have been through hundreds of reincarnations, and they've learned how to be guides from the other side. Now, family members are not guides on the other side. They're still family members, but guides, my team's always said, are individuals that walk the planet one time, rose through many reincarnations. Angels are from the angelic realm, very highly sophisticated in terms of their knowledge and ability to help the universe, highly connected to the one source, the one force. Yes, all of our souls create at the same time. We're all like drops of water in the ocean. So there's some distinctive differences between all the things you're asking here. But I think we covered it all: guides, angels, ascend masters, extraterrestrials, whatnot. Yep, absolutely. 26, is it true to say that once you fulfill your purpose and soul contract here on earth, you die? No, you don't die spontaneously kind of once you complete all your tasks. Completing your task has a lot to do with how you fulfill your blueprint, the speed at which you move through your life path, and the scale of achievement, the scope. But no, you don't die immediately. Actually, if you're here, you really still have things to do. But it's kind of interesting, the concept of just fulfilling your life path purpose and then dying immediately doesn't happen. There's always kind of there's time and purpose to how you're spending your time down here, and you don't die just immediately when you complete kind of an overall task. That makes sense. It really gets more to what your blueprint, what you laid out, even the final chapter of your life. 25. Hi, Sterling. Do we have an animal spirit guide? Well, I've always been told that spirit animals are spirit guides. They actually can take a different form. So many times what I found in talking to my team is that certain individuals, they resonate with an animal maybe more than what looks like a human guide. So it might be a bear, might be a lion, might be some sort of a bird, an eagle or something. But these are actually your guides or other guides, spiritual entities that may transform and look like an animal, because they feel like they can relate to you or you relate to them better. I know a lot of ancient, ancestors and different types of tribes around the world. They identify with spiritual totems or animal totems and spirit animals. But my team always said these are actually spiritual guides that will transform into, let's say, like a spirit animal. If they feel like that's the right way to connect with you, to help, that you resonate with it better. Hopefully that helps. 24, love and appreciation to Sterling and team. About 20 years ago, I attended a funeral for a dear friend who was a devout Christian gentleman. I arrived a bit early and was sitting in a pew with one and no one near me. In my left ear, I clearly heard a male voice say, "It's what you believe." Who was this speaking to me? And what did it mean that the afterlife is based on what we believe when we are alive? No, this is actually one of your guides communicating with you, just telling you that to keep in mind that life goes on. So the belief is very important as you're living your life here, understanding there is no death, there is no birth. It's a continuum of life. But what a good place to kind of understand that lesson than at a funeral event. So this is one of your guides trying to kind of hammer that concept home. 23, love and light to you, Linda, and your guides. If our loved ones have reincarnated, how can we still communicate with them? How do we do it? Well, all souls, the concept of what I call relay points. If someone has reincarnated, there's what they call relay points in heaven that allow you to kind of connect with that soul, no matter where they are on earth or the world. Now, from a human standpoint, most souls only reincarnate every 80 to 100 years in lifetime. There are large spiritual events, Holocaust, 9/11, where large groups of souls transition together. But what's interesting is that if somebody has reincarnated, as a simple principle, what they call relay points. So it's almost like thinking about like cell phone towers, that as you're connecting as a psychic medium or you're trying to connect with a family member, if in fact they're reincarnated, it's going to go through relay points in heaven back down to where they are. So their soul can still communicate. It's a good question. This question comes up all the time. 22, Sterling, can those who have crossed over communicate with extraterrestrials? And do they communicate with ETs who have not yet crossed over? Well, when you transition to the other side, it's a whole nother world. You're actually reborn into it. You can look exactly like you do now, but it's almost like an extraterrestrial airport in some areas where, yeah, you can absolutely run in and talk to extraterrestrials. ETs move through the angelic and heaven dimensions very easily, as well as other galaxies. So it just, it's a matter of overcoming what they call space and time. But when you're on the other side, you absolutely can communicate with extraterrestrials very easily. You can meet with them. A lot of psychic mediums, like myself, we communicate with them all the time here on Earth. But if you cross over, you certainly can. Now, I think this person also asked, and do they communicate with ETs who have not yet crossed over? Yeah. Well, again, it depends if you're on Earth, if they haven't crossed over, it highly depends on your skill or if it's on your life path. I tell a lot of people, if you're communicating with extraterrestrials now, that is on your life path, but then there's something you're supposed to do with that information in terms of, the major areas: world peace, energy, health, medicine, education. But there's a reason for that being on your life path. So you can't communicate with them prior to them passing over, if it's on your life path. 21, when I was pregnant some years ago, I woke up to turn over. There was a lady dressed like she was from slave times. I wondered if she was a relative of mine. Her teeth were white as snow, a gap between her two front teeth, a scarf tied on her head. I noticed that she was sitting on the bed or seat. I know she was sitting, but there was no seat in the room. I was so scared. I thought I was going to lose my baby. Who was she? I never saw her in my life before after that. This is actually just one of your birth angels coming around just to give you love, benevolent energy, let you know everything is okay. It wasn't meant to scare you. It was just saying, we're getting ready to deliver this soul unto you. This is one of your birth angels coming down to communicate. Absolutely. Okay, 20 in the countdown. Dear Sterling and team, I recently lost two dogs, but I'm getting ready to move. So my question is, will the dogs come with me in my move, or will the spirits stay in the house? So all spirits in many cases are connected to you. So as you call them in, your family members, their animals, your pets, they're connected to you. They'll come with you. Absolutely. And just on very rare cases, do individuals that may not be connected with your family may want to stay in a residence. So maybe somebody lived there 100 years ago or 200 years ago that like that area. They may kind of try to stay connected to that. Normally, I don't family members, loved ones, animals, they're connected to you. They go with you. They do not stay connected to the house. 19, hi Sterling. When I was around 6 years old, I took my toddler stepbrother down to the lake to sit on the dock. No one was around, and the dock was out of sight of the cottage. We were sitting side by side, and I was singing to him. I turned my head, and when I looked back, he was floating in the water face down, about 3 feet from the shore. I remember looking in shock at him but have no recollection of what happened. The water was deep. I can't imagine how I got him out without divine help. There are several missing hours from my memory until I came to screaming hysterically. The adults would never discuss what happened, and I forgot about it for many years, but now I'd like to know who helped me or saved my brother from drowning. Great example of how birth angels step in. So, birth angels stepped in to help you. It looks like he had a bit of a loss of consciousness during the whole experience because of the dramatic nature of it. But these are birth angels that stepped in to help you, help save your brother. And it looks like you may even done a little astral travel, a little separation from your human body due to the high stress of the situation. Obviously a very traumatic. Yeah, because that loss of consciousness looks like a separation of your soul a little bit of astral travel, then kind of coming back into your body again after that was over. But it was birth angels for you and your brother that actually stepped in. That's their job. I talk all the time. Many times someone will have a near-death experience, say a car accident. And then maybe there's two paramedics that respond to the scene. A third paramedic will show up from nowhere, save the person's life, then leave. And the other two paramedics are kind of bewildered. Who was that? Usually it was the birth angel for the person that was being saved. But that's kind of what happened in this experience here. 18. Hi, Sterling. Have any extraterrestrial species mapped the entire universe? Have they also traveled the entire universe? No, the universe is infinite. It actually has no beginning and no end. So even extraterrestrials have only mapped a fractional portion of the universe. They've certainly been through, dozens of galaxies, but they've only mapped a fraction of the universe. The universe is infinite, so it goes on forever. But yeah, I mean, a good question. I know why you're asking. Everything is measured in light years when you look at kind of how big the universe is. So, the universe is infinite, but you think about, billions and billions of light years in distance, to kind of get the universe, and, it's infinite. A light year is something like, 6 trillion miles. It's like the distance light goes in 1 year. It's like 6 trillion miles. So think about the universe being even larger than trillions and trillions of light years. It's expansive. In fact, if a trillion, if I remember correctly, that's like a 1 followed by 12 zeros. So, light travels 6 trillion miles in 1 year. Anyway, to give me some sort of scope as to kind of how all this works. But no, even extraterrestrials have not mapped the entire universe. No. 17, good morning from the frozen northeast of the US. Do popes communicate directly with God, or do popes communicate with their spirit guides? Everyone, including popes, first and foremost, communicates with their angels, their guides, and then that's an extension right to the one source, the one force. What's interesting is that everybody can communicate directly with the one source, the one force, and whatever name you want to put on that, God or whatever it is. But everyone has the ability. So even popes are part of the humanity. They have a lot of the same types of skills, sometimes more highly developed. It's like learning any kind of a skill. 16, I heard another psychic say that deep grief makes hearing from past loved ones difficult, and that talking to them and asking for signs bothers them in their new endeavors. At the same time, many say that love never dies and that they can still feel our love. I'm confused. I was widowed 13 years ago and I still love and miss my dear husband. I have not had any messages, visions, or dreams, which leaves me unsure of anything except my continued love for him. We were together for 30 years. Is this true that he's busy and my grief is disruptive to him? No. So a lot of misnomers here. Our loved ones, when they transition, it happens very, very quickly. They're reborn into the other side. You never bother them. You can communicate with loved ones on the other side nearly immediately. Remember, that dimension moves faster than the speed of light. So I'm going to tell you, I talk about what's called the TED principle. Any psychic medium that's communicating with other individuals on the other side, even let's say a husband that just recently passed here for you, or this was 13 years ago, I think you said, even right around the time of the passing, as long as I call it the TED principle, there's a timing alignment, there's an energetic alignment, and a desire for all parties to communicate, they will. You can call any of your loved ones around immediately, even right after they pass, they will come around. They come around in love. They understand humanity goes through grief. There's multiple stages of grief, but they'll never refuse to talk to you. They can always talk immediately. Don't ever tell you that they can't. But anyway, so I will tell you this, from a human standpoint, if you're deep in depression or grief, you shut down that portion of the brain, the creative imagination center that connects with the universe. You can shut it down, squeeze it down. That's very true. But anyway, your husband is around you as soon as you call out to him. Whoever asked this question, ask them to step in, ask them to give you a big hug. You should be able to get a cold chill. Cold chills usually a confirmation, your guides, angels, loved ones are coming around you. So they're never too busy to come in and show us love. 15, hello, Sterling and team. Fannie Mae mortgage was placed into conservatorship in 2008 from the fallout of the 2007 housing crisis. 16 years later, I hear there is a lawsuit against the U.S. government saying something was illegal with the conservatorship and it was never intended to sweep the profits forever. Will Fannie Mae ever be released from the conservatorship? Well, I mean, it's both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, if I remember correctly. So I don't see them being released from the conservatorship for at least another 4 to 5 years here. It's not going to happen right away. But it feels like there's still good reason for them to be in conservatorship. It's going to take a while to kind of release that. But both Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. So nothing fast, at least, another 5 years here. 14, hello, Sterling. My husband died suddenly and very recently. In the immediate aftermath of his death, while family was gathering in my home, the electronic display on the stove began to continually reset. And during a recent visit by my sister, the display also acted strangely, and my dog had episodes of staring at the wall and growling. I've heard souls across the veil can easily manipulate electronic devices. Could my husband have been visiting us and doing this to catch our attention? Yes, absolutely. My team is saying that this is your husband trying to connect with you. Absolutely. And the very fact that you're seeing it, you're acknowledging it, you're asking a question about it is wonderful. Your husband's happy that it's kind of coming to your attention. Loved ones can communicate with us from the other side in a variety of ways. Some leave money around, change, nickels, dimes, quarters. Some leave feathers around. Some may tickle your ear. Some may touch your shoulder. You may feel a cold draft all of a sudden. But there are a variety of ways they can communicate with you. Once you get good on the other side, meaning takes practice, you can actually show yourself as a full-scale apparition. Now, not many people choose to do this from the other side because it scares loved ones, but I do find many times around a time someone passes, it's more common than not that they will show themselves as a full-scale apparition as they're saying goodbye to their loved ones. But yeah, in this case, electronic manipulation, lights, all sorts of things, even turning radios on, turning TVs on randomly, or turning them off. All those are things your loved ones can do. In this case, it is your loved one. 13, hi, Sterling and Linda. A lot of people develop problems with their shoulder joints and hips as they get older. Many shoulder joint surgeries fail over time. Will CRISPR and or some other medical treatments be developed to reattach, heal, and regrow torn ligaments in the shoulders, hips, joints, etc. over the next decade? I do get within a decade, CRISPR technology will aid and allow the body to regrow certain body parts internally. So this is coming. There's also like advancements, a new type of laser technology for some of these ailments. All these things, we're at a tipping point in the medical industry due to genome and Cas9 gene editing and new laser technology, and then artificial intelligence technology that will help guide medical devices for better, more specific surgical procedures. But it's all coming. But the answer to this question was shoulder and joint pain. I do see within a decade here, there will be CRISPR technology. There'll be injectable that will start to be able to get the body to heal. Now, that's just the start of when this technology will be released. So there'll be another decade beyond that as it gets perfected and a lot of people start to use it. But it is all coming. 12. Hi, Sterling. You may have covered this before, but I wondered if the amount of souls in the universe is finite or infinite. For example, are new souls created? And when people say new souls, old souls, I imagine it relates to a number of reincarnations or perhaps just the level of learning of a soul. Well, I've always been told by my team that all souls were created at the same time. So there's a finite number of souls. That's true. Souls are energy. It's true that, an older soul has more reincarnations. That's very, very true. So energetically speaking, that's true. If you come back for more reincarnations, you're going to be elevated in level. But newer souls have not reincarnated that many times, maybe tens of times. Older souls starting with hundreds of times, very old souls, thousands of times. But yeah, that's true. Finite number of souls, all created at the same time when the universe was created. And the number of reincarnations directly affects whether they're old or newer souls. Okay, 11 in the countdown. About 15 years ago, my sister and I were visited in our apartment by a very tall and very bright light humanoid being that seemed to make air disappear. We were paralyzed and speaking telepathically and lost about 2 hours of time. We felt no fear, but we don't remember what was said. I've been thinking about the experience a lot lately, but I'm concerned because I hear some people call them ETs, angels, or even demons. Malevolent ETs disguised as angels. What are the beings of light we saw, good or evil? And what purpose were they visiting us? These were family members of yours in this case. These were not extraterrestrials, but these were family members trying to visit you. I think you said you saw them. They were very tall, speaking telepathically. Yeah, very common. There's not an extraterrestrial experience, but these were family members trying to connect with you. A lot of times it's very typical that when family members really try to show themselves, they scare a lot of people here on Earth. So I know many people say, I want to see my husband again, want to see my wife or my child. You have to be prepared for the experience because for some people, it really sets them back. But these were not extraterrestrials in your case. Okay, 10 in the countdown. So now that the SEC approved the sale of Bitcoin ETFs, does that mean the US government is going to let cryptocurrency survive and go on? What's the future of this? So ETFs are essentially exchange traded funds. And yes, the SEC is allowing this financial mechanism to take place. Still, cryptocurrency, very high risk. This is now providing a mechanism by which certain organizations like BlackRock can trade with cryptocurrency at a more granular level, but still very, very high risk. So it's just a mechanism to try to allow people that want to delve into cryptocurrency can certainly do it. The government's allowing this as an incremental step. 9. Sterling and team, will we have anything available for extreme pain management? I have a friend that deals with chronic pain at a 10 plus level every day, and current treatments don't help. I see many developments here around electrical stimulus, or what they call TENS treatment, TENS. So whoever asked this question, take a look at that. I see major developments coming up over the next 1-2 years here around TENS treatment is what my team is saying. I mean, not a doctor, but it looks like I keep getting electrical stimulus around what they call TENS treatment. Okay, so hopefully that helps. I think it's electrical nerve stimulation. I think what the T stands for, but electrical nerve stimulation. Hopefully that helps. 8. My questions have to do with frequencies. Color and sound can be measured through wavelengths. Are there other wavelengths or frequencies that we are not aware of? And how can we spiritually raise our personal frequency so we're fulfilling our life's paths? Well, this is a large discussion. So I'll answer it briefly here. Light is what they call electromagnetic energy, and light exists in the same realm as does things like radar, microwave energy. Sound has to move through a medium like air or water. Yes, they're measured in wavelengths. That's very true. But when you look at the human, this person's asking, how do you raise your frequency? You know, the human body is sensitive to all sorts of stimulus. So whether you're hearing sound, you're feeling energy, is it Reiki healing, acupuncture, whether you're meditating, whether you're connecting real time in the waking hours with your guides and angels, all these things help to connect you with different types of energy, and they're all helpful. And we talk about all the chakras the body has. So these help align chakras as well. This is a large discussion. Whoever asked this question kind of brought in realms of technology along with energetic level. But I'll tell you that electromagnetic energy, like light and uh, different types of stimulus, are very effective at helping the body. When we talk about raising your energetic vibration, a lot of that maybe in many cases is spiritual in nature. So large discussion here. Could probably do a whole class just on this topic, doing it real time. But whoever asked the question, combining spiritual factors with light factors, electromagnetic radiation, and sound that moves through certain types of mediums like air and water. So it's a large topic, but all these things have an effect on the body. That's very true. 7. Hi, Sterling. Years ago, I was in bed, half asleep, and saw a dark shadow like figure of a man in a tall hat and long coat come into my bedroom. He stayed still next to my bed for a few moments, then left. Later, I read online about others' similar experience from what they call the Hat Man. Was this in fact visited by the Hat Man, and what was the meaning of it? Well, the Hat Men do exist. We've talked about it many times on the channel. Usually they warn of events coming up. So I've seen them even around military bases. Military personnel will see the Hat Men, and then there might be, unfortunately, like an aircraft accident coming up. But they warn of impending things coming up. They're trying to get your attention. They're benevolent, but they're coming around to help. 6, when a person who believes in a lot of lies and conspiracies dies, will they then suddenly see the truth? We always see the truth when you pass over. Absolutely, no doubt about it. So everything is almost like the veil, as they say, as you're here on Earth. There's certain things you don't see because you're not living in a dimension of pure love. But the veil gets lifted, and you certainly see everything that's based in truth. Remember, the whole universe only runs on love and fear. All the things that exist on the fear side, ego and anxiety and depression. But when you get on the love side, that's where truth lives. So absolutely. 5, Sterling and team. I'm currently in the process of preparing to receive a stem cell bone marrow transplant for a blood disorder that I have. I have 3 living sisters, none of whom are a match. However, there are 2 unrelated donors in the National Bone Marrow Registry that have been identified as a match. In this type of case, do our souls mind the unrelated donor agree to prior incarnation to have this experience together as part of our soul path blueprint? Absolutely. Everything you experience in life is part of your soul path blueprint. You'll see that when you get to the other side, you see your entire blueprint laid out. You can tell what happened at the age of 26 or 42. It's all part of your life experience. I know this person asked this question, but there's no problem with soul interaction. The very fact and say the bone donors weren't your direct immediate family members, there was somebody else. Your soul's intact, your soul DNA, your spiritual DNA, it's all intact. And the individuals that are coming to work with you are actually part of your extended spiritual family. You'll find out on the other side. But it is all part of everybody's spiritual path and their blueprint. Remember, I say everybody's life path interconnects. So many times people will look at their life and say, gee, how could this happen to me? It's just all happening to me. But that's really not looking at the larger picture of how does your life path affect your family members, doctors around you, family, friends. Everybody's life path interacts in a way. And if it's being done in the right way, it's somehow reflective of a loving experience somehow. So it's meant to help everybody in the long term. 4, throughout my life, starting in childhood, various people at various times have accidentally called me Heather. even though that's not my name or anyone in my family's name. I may go years before it happens again, but inevitably it will. When I ask people why they have accidentally called me Heather, they have no idea why. What is going on? This is your name in a prior lifetime. So it looks to me like, whenever you resonate with a past lifetime like that, where somebody's just calling you Heather out of the blue, that not only was that your name, but it looks like spiritually you really did some great work in a prior lifetime. So that's a resonance. It's almost like an aura coming off of you, where people feel compelled to call you by that name. So that's a wonderful gift. That's a wonderful life experience. So I would welcome that. Every time that happens, that's a validation of kind of a wonderful prior lifetime you used. And it looks like spiritually you did a lot of good work. 3, hi, Sterling and team. I have a son that struggles and is finding his way after some rough times. I'm constantly sending light and love and affirmations to protect and guide him. Does this help? Yes, absolutely. Anytime you send love and light to anybody with the highest intention of love and light, it always helps them. It's like sending them a candygram, it really does help them. I can't stress that enough. In all facets of our life, anybody you're having trouble with or trying to help, in the quietness of your home or wherever you're at, your space, if you genuinely send with the highest intention, love and light, it always helps. Absolutely. And number 2, and number 1, I always take notes before the show, so I'll go through those. 2, do you see anything coming up this week? More significant bad weather for the East Coast and some of the Gulf areas of the US. So be very, very careful. My guy's been talking about this for weeks now, but a continuation here. Also, new charges against 45 coming up here related to the documents case, related to January 6th, the federal. Looks like there's some new charges and new evidence coming out here. So evidence and charges are telling me. I also see an airline accident in international waters. Now, I think the good news is a lot of people will be, let's say, picked up by boats. So it looks like the aircraft does go down. Maybe it's going off the runway, but I see a water connection here and then like people being saved. So some sort of an international airline incident coming up here. And more progress in the Middle East. I do see movement now. The two-state solution. Obviously, my guides have said it's going to be a one-year battle in the Middle East. We were talking about this earlier. A year to get the two-state solution going. But I see good progress from a world perspective, trying to move everybody towards a two-state solution, get them thinking about it, at least getting prepared for it. It's going to take a long time here to get it done. But I do see good action in that area, and also continued strikes by the U.S. and UK over a kind of Iran-based targets or targets of the Houthis, the individuals that are really aligned with forces that are aligned with Iran. More of that's still going to happen, but it's actually going to have a good effect because my team was saying earlier, escalation around Iran, Iraq, those types of entities, but it's going to get squelched by world power. So you're starting to see that right now. And number 1 in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep looking towards the future and never define your future based on your past. So on that note, that concludes the show being recorded today for Sunday, January 21st, 2024. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab, and I'm sending you a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and all of your families. Take care. I'll see you again very soon.